Good evening, guys, and happy, what is today? Sunday 12 or Sunshiny Faces. My goodness, guys, we got so much stuff done over this weekend. It feels like it should be like Tuesday or Wednesday already in the middle of the week. For how much stuff I squeezed in like 2 days. Sort of Friday too, because we did end up getting some stuff done because Jack was home from school. My dad was also home from work on Friday. Also too, guys, we totally caved and my dad put my air conditioner in the window, and my parents also have theirs in their bedroom window. One of the other reasons was also because I told you guys the central air is not getting fixed. They didn't have like an appointment until like the first week of June, which isn't like that far away, I think, or maybe like the first or second, something like that. I think we figured it was only like 3 weeks from like last Thursday or something like that, or maybe from Wednesday or something. But my mom is having surgery on Thursday of this week, and so she is going to be like laid up in bed for a while, and so she is like, you know, will most likely be home though before the air conditioning gets put in, and she is already probably going to be very uncomfortable. You don't want to top that off with being hot and just not having air conditioning when it's supposed to be 88 degrees tomorrow. And like the thing is actually is that next weekend actually looks like it's supposed to be a little bit cooler, like 70s, but almost all of this week it's still supposed to be in the 80s. Like, it is hot. Tonight actually it cooled down like crazy. It is super cool, and like there was a cold breeze. I was like, after like we had dinner, we went back outside. I went to show my mom something. It was like crazy cold. I was like, I'm gonna need to grab a sweatshirt. But like I said, we ended up sort of caving and ended up putting the air conditioners in. But Matthew and Jack have the AC upstairs that we usually used for the living room and kitchen, so we don't have any AC in there. We've just kept our bedroom doors closed so that we keep the AC just in these 2 rooms, without having it in the rest of the house. We've just been using the fans that we did buy for both of each of our bedrooms, and then Matthew and Jack have that AC unit upstairs because that's what we were planning on. We were going to give them that since upstairs doesn't have AC, and then when we got the rest of the central air that's downstairs fixed, or the new unit put in, you know, then we would be, you know, fine, and whatever would work out awesome, because now that really good high efficiency big unit air conditioners upstairs, we were like, that'd be awesome. But we didn't figure that it was going to take a couple weeks before they even ended up getting that done. But it does also get hotter upstairs than it does downstairs, and it's not ridiculously hot with the windows open and like the fan in the living room going, the overhead one, plus we had 2 of the little fans going as well. So like I said, it wasn't actually that bad, and hasn't been like for the last couple days. But it's also nice that we get to sleep in the cool air conditioning, and if anybody gets too hot, they can obviously again go back to their rooms, just sort of chill out. So today me and my dad ended up getting a bunch of projects done, which was really awesome actually. Jack mowed the lawn, my dad ended up weed whacking. Matthew actually had to go to the doctor because he had like an ear infection, I think, and so he was actually gone when him and my mom left when I got up this morning, because I woke up a little late, and my dad was working on a project outside in the backyard. Prior to that though, him and Jack ended up taking down the what's it called, the greenhouse that we had up for 2 years now. It was sort of just like a pop-up greenhouse sort of thing, but the plastic on it like was sort of trashed last year, so we had to put like flake sort of plastic over it. And then this year it ended up breaking the actual frame, I guess, sort of like bent in. But it's rusted shut like together, so my dad can't take it apart, so we have to like either saw it or break it apart or something like that. And then we need to move it to we need to get rid of it. We're actually going to put the fire pit back behind our garage. And since we have all the like pebbles laid back there, that's what we're going to wind up doing. So that was the thing though. My dad and Jack took the plastic off, but then when they were still trying to take the whole thing down, realized that they couldn't take it down. So then my dad was working on a different little project, because we're actually having like a like pest service sort of come out, because like it is really bad with ants, and like either the big black ants or those little tiny ants. especially in our backyard. The one flower bed next to our, what's it called, our garage, there is just, they litter that space in between. I don't know why, but they're like crazy there. I was out there the other day and they were just like all over the racks. Like nobody disturbed them or anything like that. Like sometimes if you disturb them, you'll find them all coming out, but nobody had done anything. They were just pockets of them all over just like the grass and these rocks in the backyard, like crazy. And so somebody actually came by and, you know, like wanted to know if we were thinking about that. My mom was like, actually maybe. So they're gonna be also in the crawl space, and like in the backyard they'll put spray and, you know, do stuff in the grass and whatever, and so they'll be in you know, the yard, and then also in the house, but also in the crawl space. So in the crawl space though, we have pop and stuff like that that's actually sort of in the way, and my plan was for a while was to actually build this really cool thing that I sort of saw a hybrid design for on Pinterest, so I wanted to try and do it. And my dad ended up actually making the base for it. It's sort of like a roller cart a little bit. We didn't build up the sides, which we're going to do, but we just sort of built the cart so we can get the tote that we currently have a lot of the pop storage in, and like drinks and stuff like that. We can move that freely in and out of the closet. And so when the guys come tomorrow, we can actually move that stuff out. And so my dad ended up building that. It was insanely easy. He just needed 4 wheels, 2x4s, and plywood. And that was literally it. But right now, I guess, my dad had the 2x4s already, but the plywood was sort of expensive because I heard that lumber is really expensive right now. My dad said that it's supposed to be going down in price, I guess, but it is fairly expensive. And since obviously also too a lot of people are doing more projects and stuff like that over the summer, it's like more money, it seems like. And like, I don't know, not that it's hard to find, but like the prices are just up. So what I feel like should have been cheaper than probably what it was, we didn't still end up paying that much for it, but the plywood was like $35 or something like that. And it wasn't that thick a plywood either, but I still felt like it was pretty expensive. Like in the past, like this time last year, we probably actually could have gotten it cheaper, or 2 years ago, like maybe $25 instead of $35. I don't know if that's an accurate price, but I just feel like when I saw it, I was like, is there anything cheaper than this? I was like, this seems pretty expensive. So yeah. Then on top of that, guys, so me and my dad ended up though having to go and get that plywood from Menards. This was later in the afternoon. I'll tell you guys what I got done earlier today though. But my dad finished building that after we got back from Menards. But we went to Menards and we went to Ace. My dad needed to actually get a circular saw from Milwaukee, and they didn't end up having any there, so he has to go to a different Ace or maybe Home Depot tomorrow because they don't have Milwaukee products at Walmart or at Menards. So we ended up going to Ace, but they did have a good deal on bird food, so I ended up getting that bird seed, like the black oil bird seed from at Ace, so I ended up getting some of that. Just so we didn't walk out of the store without buying anything. Then we ended up going to Menards and ended up getting, we needed 2 soaker hoses for our garden bed that we put all the vegetables in. We also needed like not a T, but like sort of like those Y things, you know, for the garden hose. We also need a new garden hose because ours had a bunch of patches in it, like 8 million little holes that were spraying things everywhere. It was pretty bad, and it was like probably like a 20-year-old hose. Like we probably got it when we either first moved into this house, or it might have even came from the move from our old house over 20 years ago. So, or about 20 years ago, I think now. Actually, I think it was 20 years ago, like this last March or April or something like that, or maybe May this month. We've lived here I think now for 20 years. So like I said, we ended up getting a new hose that's actually 100 feet, and I was like, wow, I didn't even realize we had 2 hoses together that I think were 25 feet, so it barely stretched 50. I was able to have enough to get all the way over to the side of the house no problem, and like it was really awesome. So anyways, we ended up also getting that, which actually was also on sale. It was only I think 20 bucks. We got 2 of the soaker hoses that were $10 each. We needed 1 for each side of the garden bed. I don't know how much that like you know, like the double. It makes one hose into two, and like separates it sort of like a fork. And then we also had to get, like I said, the plywood, and I thought there was like one other thing that we needed to get as well, from Menards. Earlier though, before we ended up leaving for Menards, because Jack was gonna go bowling with his friends, so me and my dad dropped Jack off with his friends, then went to Ace and Menards. Before that, guys, I ended up, which I had my dad take a before picture because I almost always forget these, right? And I didn't bother to like record earlier or whatever because I was in the moment. I had just started using it. I pressure washed the back deck, which first off, we ended up getting like a Sun Joe. It's actually one of the cheaper like power washers. I think maybe it was just barely $100 or like $150. The thing works so awesome, guys. I kid you not, it stripped all of, we had our deck, like I think maybe it was painted actually when we first moved in, again about 20 years ago, and it wasn't that vibrant, so I don't think they did it like right when we moved in. It was maybe even like the original deck color, like they first painted it when it was first put on, probably even longer than that. It was painted red. The red is still on the boards on the side, but all of the stuff on the ground boards has pretty much all faded away. And so we ended up actually then painting over it a like sort of like a tannish color. I actually think that was one of the first vlogs I ever recorded, like maybe 10 years ago or something like that. I don't even know. It's like maybe actually more like 8 or 6 years ago, something like that. But it was a long time ago. We painted it almost the first summer after we ended up painting it. That following winter ended up pretty much ruining it, and it all came up that next summer and was all chippy and stuff like that everywhere. So we have this weird sort of red that was sort of coming off. It was all dirty, also with these like chipped paint all over the deck. It was not looking very pretty. So I was like, let's try and see if we can power wash it. We had planned on though, which we're gonna do at some point when the lumber is cheaper, replace all the boards though, because some of them are warped because of some of the damage that was done by the roof, because it's been leaking, the like roof over the top, and because it hasn't been restained or anything like that over the years that we've lived here. On top of that too, the owners before us ended up doing a really dumb thing, and the deck actually extended further out, but they ended up cutting it and then just left it for us to finish taking out. They didn't actually take anything out. They just literally cut it down the middle and decided they were going to take it out, and it wasn't sturdy anymore, so we had to take it out because they wanted more driveway space, but it's like behind the house. It's not actually like in the driveway. And so long story short, we ended up having to go through all of this and taking it out, but it left all these really weird cuts in the wood also along the side, which were also not properly treated either, so a lot of it is also starting to get warped. Not really rotting, but like it's starting to, the wood is definitely really starting to like be impacted by the elements because of it. And so it's just, the wood is not really good. But guys, the amazing transformation. I just did the floorboards. I didn't try and do anything else yet, just because I had all the stuff still hanging up, but I took all the furniture off the deck, but I put all those new hanging plants up and all everything, so I didn't want to take all that down to do up, you know, further up. And again, we had to leave to go take Jack. But guys, it is like, it looks like we put fresh lumber on the deck. It was crazy the amount of transformation it was. On top of that too, we had like sort of like these green algae stains, sort of like mossy stuff in certain parts too, on the brick that I ended up also cleaning. Like, it looks so pretty. It looks still like there's still parts where some of the like the paint didn't come up, where some of the red is still there, where there's still some staining from like green, you know, like I said, that green algae mossy, you know, sort of stuff. There's, like I said, still some damage. There's still some dirt and stuff like that, but it looks like yellowy, like actual timber logs outside right now. The thing is, like I said, we don't want to treat it with anything or restain it or anything like that, because it also smells. We had several of the dogs, you know, they go outside and they don't want to go in the yard, so they'll wind up peeing on the deck and we have to chase them off the deck. But it just sort of smells also a little bit like dog pee outside on the deck specific area, and I think it's because it's saturated into the wood. And on top of that, again, the wood does not look very nice. It seems like it'd be a waste to stain it just to wind up probably having to replace it anyway and try and preserve it. I don't really see that, you know, I don't see that happening, and I wouldn't want to waste a whole thing of stain to try and save something that isn't really worth it. Now, the boards along the railing, those are all still in really good condition, and I think those are salvageable, but the actual, the boards like that are facing up, like the sort of fencing around the railing is okay, but the actual railing piece also needs to be replaced. And then after that, I really think that the rest of the whole deck is actually in very good condition. It's just sort of the floorboards and again the top part of the railing, and I think that some of the top beams can use with a little bit of like cleaning, with like power washing, but I think that they really are actually all still in really good condition. Like I said, we want to replace the actual bottom boards, because on top of that too, I don't know whose design this was, but there's like a good inch in between every board. It's like the design on the deck, but it's sort of dumb when you have a chair, because you can't, like, we can't put really like chairs, like eating chairs out there, because they'll fall through the cracks in the wood. Like, it's not like everything is all the boards are lined up together. I don't know if it was specifically to save on wood. I don't know if it was like the person's design, whoever ended up doing the deck, but it's sort of a dumb design. So we also need more boards to fix that, and it doesn't make sense to just like replace a couple and move them all over too. And like I said, it's just sort of like we want to redo it. But I cleaned it because I was like, I'm sort of done looking at all this dirt. There was actually just bird seed on the deck, and I was like, I'm gonna sweep all this off. And then as I got all the stuff off the deck, I was like, why don't I just try and use this? We've had this for like a year now and we haven't used it yet. So I was like, I'm just gonna try and do it. So my dad and me hooked it all up and put it together, and it was actually so easy. Like, it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I actually got a worse workout when I try and mow the lawn than I did trying to use this. And it took me about maybe like a half hour in total just to do all the floorboards. It was like no time at all, and it looks, like I said, and on top of that too, I didn't realize I actually was like standing further away when I started doing it. When I started to get towards the end of doing it, I was actually getting closer to the boards, so it was actually like cleaning it better than when I went over it the first time. So then I went back over some of the spots that I had done at the beginning, you know, at the end, and realized that I actually could get more off. But then, like I said, we had to leave. Then when we came home, it was raining, so I was like, I have to get all this stuff back on the deck now. So then, and it stopped raining like a couple minutes later, and I was like, I don't feel like taking everything back off. Like I said, crazy transformation. It was so awesome, and just something that at least for like a year, maybe until like next year when again prices are a little bit better, or maybe later in the summer if prices get better, we can maybe, like I said, get those replacement pieces for it. And honestly, I will be above and beyond. Like, just the fact that it is somewhat clean and it looks a little bit nicer. It looks sort of like messy now, but it doesn't look dirty like it did. It just looked completely like dirty and like yucky and like, again, a mess. Now it looks like we've made an attempt to try and clean it, and actually looks pretty nice. And like I said, we could do more, like trying to scrape the paint chips off that are still left on there, try and do a little bit more cleaning and all that kind of stuff. But we also did it without any chemicals or soap or anything like that, because it does have chemicals in it and we don't want the dogs to be, you know, around it or involved in it or anything like that. But like I said, we did it with just the water, and also with the garbage hose that had all the holes in it. And it still worked out like totally awesome. And you know, like I said, even if we just have it for the rest of this summer, with it looking the way it does right now, where it's at least looks cleaner and, you know, not being stained or anything like that, because we're gonna replace it. Like I said, it's no big deal. It's pretty awesome. So it looks very nice. And at least better than it did, like I said. And I have to still go around and do everything else sort of up above the, you know, the actual boards, like on the railing, the deck, you know, the what's it called, like the railing, the fencing sort of part, and then the large posts, and sort of maybe anything up on the ceiling part also. So anyways, guys, long story short, a lot of stuff I felt like we got done this week, and got all of the flowers in, all that kind of stuff, did a whole ton of things. I slept like a baby last night because I was so tired, and it was so nice and cool in my room too. So I need to take a shower, then we'll get to bed, because I'm pretty pooped from today as well. Even though honestly, I feel like I got like did more work today and actually saw a better result in what I did by cleaning the deck, but I feel like I really didn't do too much like as a workout or anything like that. Like it was like nothing for my arms, like just to hold the, the pressure washer and just spray it. It was no big deal at all. So anyways, I will see you guys though all in tomorrow's vlog. If you guys did enjoy today's, make sure you guys give a big old thumbs up. If you guys are new, we'd love if you'd subscribe, and I'll see y'all for some shiny faces tomorrow. So bye guys.